Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm here with you on a Thursday. It's the fourth day of this week that I've been talking about the book of James. And James is filled with practical ideas and practical requirements of how to live as a Christian in today's world. And I would say not just for Christians, but for anybody. It's just a really, really good book about how to live. And so today I want to pick up another passage from the second chapter of James and beginning with verse 8. And here's what it says. It is good when you obey the royal law as found in the scriptures. Love your neighbor as yourself. But if you favor some people over others, then you're committing a sin. You are guilty of breaking that law. Well, let's take a look at this passage and see if we can find something that helps in our daily lives. First, it says it's good when you obey the royal law. James calls it the royal law. Jesus called it the law, the second part of the law. And it's really, really simple. Love your neighbor as yourself. Now, I grant you, while it sounds simple, and it is, it can be really complicated. So what does love mean? Well, in the New Testament, there are three different words for love, or three different Greek words that are translated as love in our English. And the first one has to do with brotherly love, caring about people like a brother or a sister, or family member, or something like that. And the second one has to do with what's known as erotic love, which is like the love between two lovers, two people who are, as we would say in our culture, in love with each other. And then the third one is the word agape, which means self-sacrificing love. Now, this word, as distinguished from the other two in Greek, this word means to give something up of yourself in order for the benefit of someone else. Now, it's this third word that appears here when it says love your neighbor. It's the self-sacrificing of something of you in order to benefit someone else. Now, as Jesus said, and as James repeats here, who are you supposed to love? Well, your neighbor as yourself. So the question comes up, who is my neighbor? That's the same question that Jesus was asked. And he went into a long discussion about it. But we'll simplify it here and simply say, who is your neighbor? Anybody you encounter. Makes it pretty simple, don't you think? Well, if you're a good lawyer, you could say, well, what do you mean by the word encounter? Okay, that's fair game. And I would say that the word encounter here means anyone that you have any interaction with at any level, for any reason, for any length of time. Do you know what that means? It means everybody. Yep, everybody. Now, the second part of this verse demonstrates what's easy about this. It says, if you favor some over others. Now, who are you favoring? Well, Jesus also talked about that. He said, if you love those who love you, what have you done? And the gist of the answer is not much. Even pagans do that. Even people who don't claim to be Christian, even people who wouldn't even consider themselves good people, tend to love those that love them. They tend to care about those who respond well to them. So that's the easy part. You probably already do that. I'm not telling you something you haven't heard before. And I'm not giving you any advice about that because, well, most likely you don't need it. So who's this other? Love someone that you don't favor. Well, let's go back. What is love? Giving of yourself for the benefit of another. So who is the other? Well, it is the people who care about you, for sure. But it's the other ones who don't care about you. That's what makes this so complicated. Jesus even goes on to say that if you don't love those that you don't favor, then you are breaking this law. Now, the consequences of breaking this law are enormous in this world and in the world to come. Breaking this law, not loving those who don't love you, allows for resentment and anger and vengeance and arrogance. Well, who do they think they are? Well, who do you think you are? Could be said. Jesus is trying to tell us how to live in a fashion that will generate the best life here on this earth and afterwards. What does it cost you to love someone who doesn't love you? Well, you can't have anger towards them. You can't have resentment towards them. You can't have vengeance towards them. You can't be arrogant toward them. Don't you think those things are worth losing? Is there any redeeming value in any of those characteristics? Of course not. Besides the fact, it'll lower your blood pressure, and that's always a good thing. So think about your life. Are you loving those around you in any way you can, whenever you can? Or are you doing something else? God calls us to live a life that's pleasing to Him. And this little passage from James gives us a whole lot of ideas. Well, thanks for listening. Hope you have a really great day. Hope you have a great upcoming end of the week. God bless you. I'll talk to you one more time about wisdom from James.